Hello, good evening and a warm welcome to The Turning Point for ITN Sri Lanka. And The Turning Point, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 to 6:30, usually live, continues to bring you guests of various expertise who will answer questions, your issues, the people's issues. And because it's election time, they come from a different variety of parties. Today, we have the organizer for Colombo East from the SJB, Mr. Anuradha Vimalaratne. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Faraz. It's good to be here after a while.
Indeed, it's lovely having you here. Election time. The people are suitably confused because you have different candidates. We have, I think, 38 or 39.
39 was there,
39.
but one actually passed
away. Yes, indeed. Perhaps he was the winner after. Really speaking.
Depending on how this election goes.
Yes. So the people are confused, but as if you've been following the program, you may know that my producer and I have been all over Sri Lanka for the past 7 or 8 months while we were waiting for other things to happen, which didn't happen. But we found one underlying message. Forget about who they'd said they'd vote and all that business. They had one issue, the high cost of living. Most people accepted that the economy was stable and they agreed there are no queues and so on, excepting maybe some homemade queue at the passport office, but apart from that, they were all concerned about the high cost of living. Anuradha, what would your party, what is Mr. Premadasa's vision when it comes specifically to easing the pain of the common man?
For us, first of all, I think we have to start by bringing taxes down. But bringing taxes down is easier said than done because we are still facing a deficit.
Indeed.
And people might say that the country has stabilized economically and financially, but it's not. We have stopped paying our dues. We are not paying back our loans, which we have to start doing by December. And bringing taxes down and starting to pay loans, it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation.
Indeed.
But I think one of the main things we can do over here, as Mr. Sajith Premadasa's manifesto has pointed out, we have to quickly go for a digitization drive,
right,
where we can widen the tax net, because there's only very few people still paying taxes.
Right.
Because what Mr. Wickramasinghe has done is he has increased taxes for people who are already paying taxes.
Right.
And the people who are getting away from that tax net, those people are not being touched. And we want to reduce taxes and the VAT, which counts for most of the indirect taxes in this country, by widening the tax net, bringing in foreign investments, and improving our tourism industry.
Right.
This will be we are hoping this will balance off the deficit. And by reducing, when we widen the tax net, we can reduce the amount of tax that we are actually taking from the people who are actually earning, because even the middle class who's doing good jobs, who's making, let's say, 300,000-400,000 a month, even they are affected. Like we can forget, not talk about how the lower levels of this.
But even if the threshold is 100,000, this would mean that the average hardworking tuk-tuk driver might become liable for these taxes, because he's certainly having to earn. Just to survive, he's going to have to earn over 3,500 rupees a day. And if at 30 days, that's over, it hits the 100,000.
Yes, but the thing is, I think what we have suggested is, if we bring the cap down to 100,000 and just charging them 4%.
Right.
Right, and I think that will go up to about 18% until about
the slab.
500,000 in slabs. But from 100,000 to 200,000, maximum you will have to pay is 400 rupees.
just on that subject about the availability of tuk-tuks. What plans for the SJB to up the game in terms of education? We have in Sri Lanka on average around 350,000 students per year who join the education system, and by the time they finish, as in if they're ready to go to university, there are only around 35,000, slightly more than 35 but not 40, 35,000 spaces at university. There's another 115,000 spaces in what I call tertiary education. So a total of about 150,000. 200,000 students, I'm sure they don't all want to go into higher education or to tertiary education, vocational training, but a fair number may want to. And so these are the people who are like track out. They're out of track. And then they'll say, oh, well, they'll go and join the three-wheel brigade. Nothing wrong with that. But then all the ills in the world are blamed on the three-wheel drivers at the Hyundai. That's where it all happens, apparently. But we know that that's just a cliche. So what steps from Mr. Premadasa to focus on education?
For us, I think Mr. Premadasa has always been, even the past 3 years, he has been always focusing on education, because I think he has realized the best capital we have right now is our human capital. Because we are not contrary to the popular talk, we are actually a resource poor country. The only thing that we have in abundance is our human capital. And we need to make that sharper. And we need to come up with, in his plan, there is plans to come up with community colleges. And to start off with, we need to increase what we are spending on our education system. I think we are using about 1.1, 1.2%.
Yes, but they say, some calculations say 6%, but we know that's not true.
6% is not possible, and it says in the manifesto clearly, 6% is the target in 5 years. That's a very generous target. I'm very happy about it. But speaking in all honesty, I don't think we'll be able to hit 5% in 5 years, 6% in 5 years. But I will be happy if we can hit about 3%. And we need to start opening up technical colleges. Like in Australia, they have that whole community college program that they can specialize in something for about 2 years, and then if they prefer, they can go into that trade. Which there are a lot of opportunities right now all over the world, because doctors, lawyers, engineers, they're not doing too well in the job market now. But tradesmen are highly in demand, like nurses, elder care workers. So we need to start focusing on that, and the government needs to push our workforce towards that. And one of the biggest problems we are having bringing in all these manufacturing companies and specialized trade companies into Sri Lanka is we actually do not have the workforce required. We have the workforce, but we don't have the specialized workforce. So we need to start addressing that and come up with a system like that. And one of the easiest things I think we could do is what Mr. Premadasa has been doing for the past 3 years, by empowering our youth with IT knowledge. Because India did the same thing through mostly through IIT, and look at how much they're making right now. Right, so I think that is what Mr. Premadasa is trying to push with the with all his education plans. So I think it's a very good way of doing it.
I just want to take you back a little bit down memory lane, because you have some sort of interest in the motor trade. Years ago, we had a person called Upali Vijayawardena. Apart from his Candos chocolates, we need to remember that he was probably the pioneer in trying to take Sri Lanka into a whole new wicket.
Upali Fiat.
The Upali Fiat. Unfortunately, with his death, it seemed to be that Sri Lanka forgot all about that. And today, we have in India cars from Mercedes to Audi to Volkswagen to everything else being assembled and exported out of India. Sri Lanka seemed to have missed that opportunity. How does Sri Lanka miss such opportunities? I mean, you're a young man in that sort of wider trade. Well, what's your thoughts about that? Because surely it's a big ticket.
For us, I think where we missed out, yes, Mr. Upali Vijayawardena was a visionary, and
Yeah.
you know, I think most probably way before his time.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, his death actually affected our trade.
Yeah.
But where we actually went wrong is when Toyota, Mazda, and if I'm not mistaken, Honda, they wanted to open up plants in Sri Lanka in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Before I was born. I think when in the year I was born.
Yeah.
And JVP came out with a massive protest against it.
Yes.
And you know, then those three companies went to India, Thailand, and Malaysia or Indonesia. And those countries grabbed it, and now they are making billions through that trade, and they have gotten that specialized knowledge, and they are actually building their own cars. And the same thing happened, I think. Well, JVP is talking about this 76-year-old curse, right?
Yeah.
But what they are not talking about is some of the major developments that would have happened in this country was blocked by the JVP. I think 1967, the Vallavaya Road,
Yeah.
when that was going to be built, JVP protested, saying, you know, this is there to be American planes to land, right?
Yeah.
And then I think they were against the Mahavaliya project.
Yeah.
Then the Ragama, private not-for-profit university, they protested, and then finally burned down in 88 or 89.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mahathir Mohamad actually took that whole staff and did the same thing in Indonesia,
Oh.
right? And I think about 100 to 120 students attend that university from Sri Lanka. Then when Mr. Jayajayawardena opened the free trade zones,
Yeah.
Rohana Vijayavira at that time came and threatened those businesses, saying, that if when they come into power, that they are actually going to expel all of these businesses without compensating them.
So-
and half of those companies went out of the country.
So that's probably why the incumbent president, I heard him the other day, saying that Sri Lanka has to stop this inward looking and it needs to look outward, and that our fortunes will be actually outward bound.
Exactly.
I think your leader, Mr. Premdas, will agree with Mr. Vikram Singh on that. Does he-
Actually, yes, we do need to start looking. But the thing is, see, Mr. Vikramasinghe's idea of a economy is that whole neoliberal, open everything up and, let that laissez-faire attitude.
Yeah.
I think, for a developing nation, that might not be the best way to go.
Let's find out how good or bad neoliberalism may be for Sri Lanka after this short break. It's the Turning Point with Anuradha Vimalaratne. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Kamuda machang, prima kotumi, fantamai.
සුසිනිද සමක් විෂබීජවලින් ආරක්ෂාවක් සහ නැවුම් සුවඳක් ඩෙටෝල් ස්කින් කෙයාර්.
බුද්ධිමත් ඇගේ තීරණය ප්‍රීමා ස්ටෙලා. අපි හැමෝම කැමති.
නව බෙස්ට් එවර් සන්ලයිට්. පෙරටත් වඩා සුවඳක් සමගින් සුපිරි සේදුමක්.
හොට් ස්පයිසි ෆන් වයිබ් එක විවර කරන්න. බීට් එක රීමේක් කරන්නට වෙන්න. හදවත වවලා යන්න. ගින්දර ෆැෂන් කරන්න. ෆන් උතුරන්න. කොත්තුමි කික් එක මෙන්න. ප්‍රීමා කොත්තුමි ෆන් තමයි.
වීවා එකතුණු උකුතේ එකක
රස උපරිමයි.
Introducing Prima Kottumi Korean Ramen.
Let's fire it up. ෆෙම්ස් ඇය ගැනම ඇය වැසහනය. ට්‍රයිටෙක් සහ කොටන් වර්ග දෙකම ඉහළ ප්‍රමිතියට දැන් දැරිය හැකි මිලකට. ඇය එක්ක ඇගේ ඇයවැය ප්‍රශ්න ඉවරයි.
ගුණ පරපුරක සහතිකය ඇංකර්.
Let's fire it up.
Introducing Prima Kottumi Korean Ramen.
Let's fire it up.
ලක්ස් කියන්නේ සබන් ගැටයක් විතරක් නෙවෙයි. සමට සංකාරයක්. නව ලක්ස්.
Kamuda Machang, prima kottumi fantamai.
ද්විත්වාරක්ෂාවක් දෙන නව ක්ලෝගාඩ් නැචරල් සෝල්ට්.
පඩිපත වැඩි කළ හැටි බන්දුල කියන කතාව. ජනපති රනිල් අවුරුදු 5ක් ඉල්ලන හේතුව. වැඩි වෙච්ච මහ පොළ. ට්‍රම්ප්ගේ කමලාගේ අවසන් හමුවීම. දෙසදස් පුවත් රැසක් සමගින් හමුවීම සවස් 6යි අපගේ ප්‍රධාන ප්‍රවෘත්ති විකාශයත් සමගින්.
And welcome back to the Turning Point for IT in Sri Lanka. We're with Mr. Anuradha Wimaratne, who is, of course, the SJB organizer for Colombo East. Neoliberalism, pure, or a mix of that with socialism?
I think that would be the way to go, because Sri Lanka has, like our Sri Lankans, we have always been afraid of competition. And we have kept all our markets closed, and that's not more, like I think the socialism thing is that, they want to keep this whole thing covered up. What we have to understand is, we are not living in that time anymore. Like, we are living in a global economy, and we are living in a global manufacturing chain. And as Dr. Harsha always points out, the iPhone, this is made in 47 different countries, the components. And we are not one of those 47 different countries. Why have that not happened? Because we have not opened up our markets. We have not allowed that business to grow in this country. And we have always kept this closed, thinking, okay, we'll build our own phone, which is not realistic in this time and age. So I think, what the Samagijana Balavega is suggesting is that we go for more towards a social democratic economic model. We let other companies come over here and operate, and our people will work there, and then they will get the expertise. And when the local producers are ready, they can start, and the government will support from the revenue that we got from these multinational companies for our local companies to be competitive. We will give concessions to our companies, because initially they might not have the same quality and they would be much more expensive. But from the money we have made from there, we can give concessions that we don't give to these multinational companies. Not to beat the multinational companies, because that would not be a free market economy, and that would discourage companies from coming in. We will help our companies to be on par with them, and then let the best man win.
Right. When you explain it like that, I'm thinking to myself, there's it's almost like twins enjoined at the waist. Sajid Premadasa, Ranil Wickremesinghe seems to be one. So the natural question: what is the difference between Ranil Wickremesinghe for president and Sajid Premadasa for president?
Well, two differences, two main differences, I think. Sajid Premadasa is someone who thinks of everyone, whereas Mr. Wickremesinghe only thinks of a select few.
Right.
And the other biggest difference, other biggest difference is Mr. Sajid Premadasa compared to Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is allegation free, because we cannot really have that Mr. Clean card for Mr. Wickramasinghe anymore. He has been riddled with allegations.
Yes.
Number 3, and I think third one, not 2. The biggest thing, Mr. Sajith Premadasa comes with a much, much better team.
Isn't that a matter of subject sort of opinion? Because I'm going to have to say it because otherwise it's not relevant.
Yeah.
Sajith's team is supposedly better and so on. But as General Fonseca left in almost disgust because Sajith brought in one Mr. Godeva in. It annoyed General Fonseca no end. It really irked him. I wonder why.
Let me be frank with you, for us. There are not only Mr. Godeheva, I think there are quite a few others that public might have mixed opinions and emotions about.
Yeah.
But what we have to focus at this point in time is we are picking the president.
Yeah.
All right? And obviously their teams count, but I don't think, compared to Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe's team, I don't want to go one by one, that whole name.
But we are electing a president.
Yes, we are electing a president. Yes.
So it's two individuals.
Exactly. But
one's more experienced, though, than the other.
That is true, but his experience in the past few years has not really served the people. Well, at least not the majority of
But
this
in the last 2 years, Mr. Wickramasinghe has done something for all of us. You, me, all the cameramen here and everybody else here at ITN.
This is the thing. I think on the face of it, it might look like that.
But, Anurad, I want to say this to you. The story goes that President Gotabaya called everybody and everybody came, saw him and said, oh, bad. Onne, Womistuti, Jaiva, and they went. This lone elephant says, yeah, hang on, I'll do it for you. Right?
No.
Now, the thing is this. What do you expect? What did all these people who said can't do, won't do, will not do, I don't want to do, all these people who said that, what did they expect us to do? End up in some sort of anarchy, burning our parliament, and so on and so forth. What did they think is going to happen?
See,
or did they wait for Mr. Bopage to come in and say, look, I'll run the country?
No. For us, I think, people in this country doesn't really know what actually happened there.
Right.
Sajith did not shy away from it.
Right.
He did not run away. He gave some conditions to Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Yeah.
Because what Gotabaya Rajapaksa offered was for Sajith to become Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Sajith will get 4 cabinet portfolios, in the sense, that 4 cabinet members he can appoint. Then Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa will retain the right to have 15 other cabinet members, plus him being the head of the cabinet as the president. Right? So basically, Sajith Premadasa would have been, for the lack of a better word, the token black guy in the movies, right? And he would have worked, and all his support would have actually stopped Aragale right there, right? And I don't know how the country would have gone, because he would have been just him and 5 others against another 15 bunch of corrupt guys that people wanted to see out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what would have happened is Gotabaya Rajapaksa would have still been president to this day, or at least until the next election.
Yeah.
And then Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the Rajapaksa family was looking for other options. Then there was this one guy who had nothing to lose, who has always been trying to be president.
Yeah.
He said, no conditions, I will take it.
Yeah.
Right? That is what happened finally. And since this person had such little public and party support, he could not actually protect that government or his president. So, yes, that led to Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa leaving. But if he had not jumped in and said, oh, I'll take it, ultimately, this country would have seen a better government at that time. Gotabaya Rajapaksa would, because Sajith Premadasa said, yes, I will become your prime minister, but you have to assure that you will be leaving in 6 months. So that is what really happened.
Having listened to that, I really wish that Mr. Premadasa had a better PR team in place.
We all do think that.
Because,
yes.
you know, he said to Indian television or something like that, he said, yes, I ran away from the rogues. Sorry, it's not PR value to say that. He should have said it the way you did.
Yeah.
Perhaps, Anuradi, you ought to become his PR advisor. You know, so it's a plug for you. But let me ask this question, because sometimes there are die-hard UNPS, because at the end of the day, you guys are all from the same, from the same
place,
embryo.
Yeah.
Okay. What chances of Sajid Premadasa joining hands with Ranil Wickremesinghe for the greater benefit of Sri Lanka?
Greater benefit of Sri Lanka. I think there is...
No partisan, no nothing. Only Sri Lanka, people of Sri Lanka.
This is not the party's opinion. This is my personal opinion. I don't think, you know, they will join at all. I don't see any chance of that happening at all, because there is a lot of mistrust between the two camps, and Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe does come with his own baggage and issues that,
yes, but if you look at it, I'm not plugging this at all, I'm just playing devil's advocate. But if you look at it, Ranil Wickremesinghe has been there, done it all, got his T-shirt, got the cap. I've done it all. He's got very little to lose, and if people kick him out, they kick him out. But Mr. Premadasa has got time on his hands. Ranil's looking good, but Premadasa, the way the statisticians would put it, is a younger man, and he's got more time on his hands. So do you think it's a no-no?
This is the thing. I don't think people of this country will approve joining of like that. But as I was going to say, my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion, there is a lot to be taken from Mr. Wickremesinghe.
Yeah.
He is a smart man in different senses. But if we really look at him, he has performed really well when he was working under someone, let's not say someone better, but you know, when he was working under Mr. Jayawardena, Mr. Wickremesinghe did a lot of work here, and you know, he's still talking about that. Every time, like, he started failing when he became the leader. He has not performed after that, you know, because there are some really good players that start failing when they become captain, right? So I would suggest something like this. Sajid becomes president, and hopefully in the next parliamentary election, the people sends Mr. Wickremesinghe into parliament, and we offer him something like foreign minister. I think that would be an ideal
I thought
place.
you were going to say prime minister, because because you can't put it past Mr. Wickremesinghe.
No.
But once a president, always a president. Who knows what will happen?
Not really. Mahinda Rajapaksa,
Yes,
Maithripala Sirisena, right?
But he didn't come back the second time.
Yeah.
That was a disaster. That's my opinion. Anuradha Wimaratne, thank you very much for being
Thank
a
you
guest
so
on
much for
The
having
Turning
me here
Point.
for us. I loved it.
And that's the way it was, ladies and gentlemen. This is, of course, The Turning Point. Tomorrow, we have an absolutely fascinating guest, as fascinating as all the others, but a very special one. Tomorrow, on The Turning Point, exclusively for ITN Sri Lanka, is the Honourable Ranil Wickremesinghe, President of Sri Lanka, right here on Turning Point. Take care, and bless you all.